My name is Jillian, and I'm host of the Blogger Genius podcast. Before we get into today's interview, let me ask you a question. Are you wishing you could sell digital products like digital downloads or workshops, memberships, coaching, mini courses, but you don't know where to start? And are you tired of complicated tech and spending way too much money on monthly subscriptions? Well, you need a tool that makes all of this simple, and the answer is MiloTreeCart. So this is the tool we built for non-techies who want to tap into a new income stream. With MiloTreeCart, you get fill-in-the-blank sales pages, checkout pages, a sales dashboard, upsells, over 100 done-for-you marketing materials, and support from people who seriously care. And right now, for a limited time, we are selling MiloTreeCart for a lifetime deal of $349. Pay once or in 3 easy installments and enjoy it forever. Hit pause right now. Head to MiloTree.com. We offer a 30-day no questions asked money back guarantee, so there is no risk. And if you purchase before the end of October, as a bonus, I will send you my special AI prompts to help you come up with your first digital product in minutes. So head to MiloTree.com to sign up.
Welcome to the Blogger Genius podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, friends. It is Jillian, and I'm super psyched that you are here. If you have not listened to my last 4 episodes where I did an entire series on selling, I recommend you do. I really tried to demystify the whole art of selling, and I've gotten amazing feedback from many of you saying that it inspired you. I talk about why selling is so awkward. I talk about the best places to sell. I talk about psychological tricks to sell, and I talk about the importance of your customer journey. Even as a blogger, you have a customer journey. And so in light of those episodes, I'm excited for today's, which is all about email marketing. I've got Kyle Stout on the show. His company is Elevate and Scale, and he is an email marketing expert. As I talk about a lot, email is powerful for selling. So if you sell products and services, or if you're thinking about selling products and services, understanding how to use email will take your business to a whole new level. We talk about things like what's working in email today, how to use AI in your email. We get really granular. What should you do when composing your subject line? Should you use emojis? How should you structure your welcome series? This is the episode for you if you are ready to scale and make money. So without further delay, here is my episode with Kyle Stout. Kyle, welcome to the Blogger Genius podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You are an email guy. So your people reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in Kyle coming on the show? And all you had to say was, he's like an email expert. And I said, absolutely yes, because I think email is underrated. And we talked about this before I pressed record. So before we get into that, Kyle, will you tell me how you are the email expert, how you got started, how you fell in love with email marketing, and where you are today?
Okay, yeah. So I started out as a freelance copywriter, and originally I wasn't doing anything with email. I was actually just writing sales copy for businesses' websites, doing a lot of blogging, and SEO. And really, it was just one of those things where clients would ask if they, can you write emails? Can you write ad copy? And I would just take on, whatever they needed. And after a couple of years, I noticed that one, I was just really enjoying email marketing. I liked coming up with the strategies for the different email automations and all of that. But I also noticed that that was the one area where I was seeing the most consistent results for my clients. It was just a really great sales channel. So then later, whenever I wanted to go beyond just being a freelancer and start an agency, I knew that email was going to be the main thing that I was offering. So I did initially actually try to to try to do like the all-in-one, all services. And I quickly realized, because I was not truly an expert on the other things, and had issues hiring other people, that, what, I want to stick with what I really know best and what I enjoy. And so that's what I've done. So starting in 2019, I launched Elevate and Scale, and now we still work with some service businesses and some info product creators, but we work with a lot of e-commerce businesses at this point.
So it's funny because we were both talking about how email isn't sexy. And I think everybody is after where the sexiness is, what's new, what's happening. But I will say, for me and our businesses, and we've been doing this a long time, email is our highest converting channel for creating sales. Is that crazy, or is that what you see?
That's not crazy at all. So, I mean, for the businesses we work with, consistently, they see 30 to upwards of 60% of their monthly sales come from email every single month. So it's a very strong sales channel. And I can't tell you how often I see people where maybe I'm having my first introduction to them and they're interested in email marketing, where they have a great business and they have a really cool brand. They have great products. Their customers love their products. They're generating consistent sales through either organic or paid social, and they're not doing any email marketing. And it's just crazy because they have this, extremely valuable sales channel they haven't even tapped into. And for a lot of businesses, they don't really see a lot of success without having tapped into that. So it's like, if you're already doing well and you're not doing any email marketing, then it's going to only get better for you from there.
And here's something that I see, because bloggers, let's say you're a food blogger, craft blogger, parenting blogger, whatever, to grow your list. So you are growing your list. You're just not selling anything. So you're writing weekly emails. Maybe you're hoping to get traffic. So you're putting in your most recent blog post. You maybe are doing some affiliate stuff through email, or you're working with brands and you want to go, hey, pay attention to what I did with this brand. But I find it so strange. People will be like, yeah, I have an email list of 4,000 people. And I say, what are you selling? And they say, what do you mean selling? So that's like this other flip side where I think you could just turn that on. That's a piece of money right there.
Yeah, definitely. And I see this. I think that one of the issues is that a lot of people have a negative perception of email. So maybe they think that they think it's annoying to get emails, and they think they're going to annoy their list by sending emails. And if you have that attitude, then you're not going to get into the creative space to write emails people actually want to receive. You're going to be thinking, you're going to be stuck in this thing where it's like, oh, I have to always have a discount in every email or no one's going to buy. And that's just simply not true. In fact, if you don't even have to offer discounts that much. I mean, you can just, or not at all if you don't want to. You can just stick with like holiday sales, and you don't have to go beyond that if you don't want to. And in fact, I usually recommend people don't overly discount, because you train people to only buy with a discount, and instead to focus more on just topics that your audience cares about. And if you're a blogger, that world more than most business owners do. Most business owners really struggle with that whole piece of coming up with topics. But if you already are coming up with blog topics on a consistent basis, then you already know how to find out what topics people are interested in, what they care about. You have real data to look at which things they've cared about. And now you can even just take some of those old blogs and repurpose those topics into emails. And then you've just got to connect it to what you're selling.
Exactly. I find that, and that finding a product is not that, and now you've got ChatGPT, like it's not that hard, and it's not that hard to test different products, especially in email. I was interviewing a food blogger, and she had this new offer that I think she was doing, I don't know, a paid workshop, and she wasn't getting a lot of sales. And I said, well, have you been emailing your list? Oh, no. She had done like a workshop, and then she was going to launch another one. And she said, I need to wait because I don't want to keep spamming my list. And I said, you're not spamming your list. If you have something else that's awesome to offer, go put it out there. So that's the mindset. Spamming my list, especially as somebody, predominantly women, because, selling's weird for us and we don't want to offend anybody. So talk to me about this concept of spamming my list.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was referring to. And like when people use that language, it just shows that, okay, I mean, the truth is some people just don't like being advertised to at all, right? Or a lot of us, we have preferences as far as where we like being advertised to or whatever. And I can tell you in my personal life, whenever I meet people and they ask what I do and I tell them about email marketing, one of the first things a lot of people will say is that, oh, I hate getting those emails. But then the very next thing that they always say is that I buy from them all the time. And that's something that you have to also consider with the whole spamming thing, is that a lot of times people, they might jokingly be annoyed with emails, but they really want what you have to offer. And that's worst case or almost worst case, right? But a lot of these people actually want your emails and they want what you have to offer. So if they signed up for something in the past, you should take that as a sign that everyone knows at this point, when they sign up for your list, they know they're going to be getting marketing emails. No one thinks for a second that you're not going to try to sell them something whenever they sign up for your list. It's not like it was 20 years ago where people thought they were only going to get some kind of free piece of content or whatever. So they've already given you permission, right? Mm-hmm. And if they've showed up to your workshop in the past, then that again is showing you, okay, these people are interested in what you have to offer. So you should absolutely follow up to those people. And, I look at just engagement metrics. When people are clicking, those people are really interested. I don't think opens are as important as, clicks and conversions and whenever they reply to the email. So, that's another thing, is if someone's just really conservative about emailing, you can segment out people who have engaged in some way beyond opening. Like let's just say if you just really are, hesitant, and email those people most often. Because again, if these people are taking action on your emails, that's a sign that they want more of what you have to say and what you have to offer. So you should definitely give them what they're asking for.
So you're saying go into your analytics in your email service, and you can then target people who have clicked on links and then send emails only to those people, or like your offers, continue to send them to those people and maybe send your offers less frequently to your whole list. So you like this idea of segmenting your list.
Yes, definitely. So to give you an example of how to a type of segment like this that you can create, this is something that I use very often, especially with all of our e-commerce businesses. Now, one caveat here is if you have never sent out emails to your list, you're not going to be able to do this because you won't have any of that engagement data, right? But assuming you have sent out some, what you can do is you can create a segment, and this type of segment I would call an engagement segment. So you can and I like to create them in time frames. So it could be a 30-day engaged group, 60-day engaged, 90-day engaged, and any other time frames you want. And the rules for that segment are that they've opened, clicked, or visited the site in the last 30 days, 60 days, and so on. So open the email or click the email, or they visited the site. Now you can change your rules for what you consider someone engaging with your brand.
And where do I set this up? Like I know email service providers are different, but like, let's say I'm in MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or something like that. How hard is this to set up?
So some of them are a little easier than others. In most of them, like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, and others, you can use tags. So that's one way to create segments. The one that I use most often is Klaviyo, and it's super, like they have a whole segmentation feature of creating segments. I'd have to look in ActiveCampaign to see if they have like something that actually has a name for. A lot of them, they have things that are called smart lists, or you want to look for something like that. Look for anything that says segmentation or smart lists or anything like that, where you can create smaller lists within your big list. And that's where you can create these rules. And if they don't have that feature, then use tags. And so that could be where now you're having to add rules to emails that when someone clicks on a certain link, it tags them that they've clicked on a link for this particular product. And so it's a little bit of extra effort up front, but this stuff becomes extremely valuable later on. because the people who are engaging are the ones you do want to be a little bit more aggressive with. So going back to this whole concept of, are you spamming or not? Well, you don't have to email everyone as often. In fact, I usually recommend not to email your entire list every time you send emails out, but you do want to email your most engaged people way more often. So going back to those like 30, 60, 90-day engagement groups, for someone who's doing email marketing, a 30-day engaged group, meaning that these people have engaged in the last month, I would send them, depending on how many emails you're doing, let's say you're doing like one email a week, I'd send them everything. Now, the people that haven't engaged in the last 3, 6, 9 months, I would wait for, a new product launch, the Black Friday sale, any of the really big deal stuff. Then yeah, you want to let everyone know, because a lot of people, there's just a million reasons why someone might stop engaging, but it doesn't mean that they're just permanently not interested. It just means, there's just, it could be anything. It could be that they weren't in the market for a little bit. It could be that they changed email addresses and they just haven't even opened that one, so they won't see it. But there's a lot of reasons why someone has stopped engaging, but it doesn't mean they won't come back for something new or something exciting. So that's why I definitely include those wider groups for those things. But for your regular emails that you're sending out all the time, definitely send those to your engaged people as much as you want.
That's interesting. I'm going to start doing that. I haven't been doing that, segmenting the people who are right there, ready to purchase. Even like a one-off email, like a personal email, could seal that deal.
Yeah, exactly. And one way you can do this, like say you're going to start doing this now and you want to try to find that sweet spot. So is it 30 days, 60 days, whatever for you, is first send an email to the 30-day engaged group, and then the next one go a little wider to 60, then 90.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, so then when you see a big drop off in the clicks and the opens, that's where you've kind of hit that limit of, okay, that's where people, you find that for your particular business, that's where the people really are just have lost interest, at least for now. And so that's where your limit is. So it might be that the 60-day engaged group, this is the group that you're sending most of your stuff to. And then maybe, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you're only going to like the 30-day people. And then the big announcements, you're taking that out to 90-day engaged.
Got it. That's super smart. Now let's talk about growing your list, because before we pressed record, you said the problem with a lot of businesses and people who want to be growing their businesses, they don't have a list. So it's like, well, in fact, I was talking to a guy who was like, I want to sell, but I don't have a list. So I don't, so my whole thing is just Instagram. And I'm like, okay, but you could use something like Instagram to grow your list. Like I think of social media, top of your funnel, super light, like not really, they don't know who you are. They don't know what you offer, but if you can convert those people and get them on your list, all of a sudden they become more valuable. So I don't think it's super easy unless you've got some awesome reels or TikToks that convert like crazy. Like I think it's hard to convert on social media, and it's much easier if I can get that person on social media, get their attention, get them on my list, nurture them, get them to know me, and then put an offer in front of them. That tends to be most successful for me. And what about you? Like, is that smart? Is that not smart? Is that too narrow in my thinking?
No, I completely agree. If you think about it, when you're on social media, your attention span is even shorter than it normally is. You've just got so many things fighting for your attention as the consumer. Now, as the business, you have so much more competition. You're just competing. You're not even just competing against other businesses. You're competing against family and friends and just all kinds of crazy attention grabbing things, versus competing for their attention in the inbox, which, yes, there's going to be a lot of other businesses and random people in the inbox as well, but the competition is a lot smaller. And by the time someone has signed up and they've given you permission to email them, they're a lot more interested, they're more engaged, and you can have a direct line of communication with them now, versus on social media, they're not always going to see every post that you put out. Now, a lot of times your own following, they only see a certain percentage of your posts, but assuming you have good email deliverability, they're going to get all of your emails. So yeah, it's definitely like, that to me is problem number one to solve for building your email list. And unfortunately, it's not even an email thing. It's a traffic thing. You first have to have some sort of steady source of traffic or attention online to even offer them something to get them on your email list. So that is step number one. But if you're only, let's just say you've gotten to the point where now you have a little traction on social media or whatever channel you're using, like you said, you could just stop there and say, hey, I'm going to keep trying to get as many sales as I can from this right here. Or you can take it another step further. Now, if you start getting people onto your list, yes, you can start getting sales straight from Instagram to your site. That's going to happen. But at the same time, you can also be getting people on your list where the percentage of people who are buying is going to go way up. So now you're accomplishing more for the same effort because you're still putting out all the Instagram content. It's just that now you have multiple ways to market to people. They can either move down the funnel or they can go straight and buy, which we know a low percentage of people are going to go and buy right on the spot.
Right. In fact, it's funny, a long time ago, I interviewed a woman who has a big YouTube subscriber base. And she mapped out her funnel to me, and it blew me away. So it was, you watch a video of mine on YouTube, and I'm going to tell you to go follow me on Instagram, where I post. So YouTube is just providing like specific tutorials. Like you want to know how to set up, ConvertKit. Great. Here's the video. Like it's not personal. It's do this, do this, do this. And she's cute and she's fun, but she's not cracking jokes. She's not like doing a lot. She's literally teaching you a specific skill. Then she says, go follow me on Instagram, because on Instagram, she shows her personality in her stories. She's showing the back of, all the behind the scenes of her business, of her family life, all that. So you go, oh, I like you. Then she gets you on her list by offering like opt-ins. And yes, she could be offering those on YouTube, but she found that when there was more of a personal connection on Instagram, then asking them to join her list, she found much more success that way. And then she sells them products and services from email. And that blew me away. Now, I have this podcast and I, sell MiloTreeCart on the podcast, and we have a pop-up app. I do that, but I'm also offering freebies on the podcast so that you want to get this checklist or our AI ebook or whatever it is. You will then go to this URL and sign up. So my podcast is a way also to drive people to my list.
Yeah. So does she have a link in the description to opt in directly, or is it
to where? To her email?
To her email list?
I think she does like in her link in bio, and she's offering checklists and just little things to help you in your life, in your business. But it was so interesting how her discoverability is YouTube, but she needed people to get a taste of her beyond YouTube to build that connection. And as she built that connection, then she could get you on her list. Then you're invested in her life and what she's doing and the value she's providing, but she's like a full-fledged human.
Yeah.
And by doing that, then she could speak to you through email where you're like, I like her.
Yeah, that is interesting. And that is one of the challenging things where every business does kind of have to go through this trial and error of figuring out the right way to get people on their list. So it could mean just testing different lead magnet type of offers, but then that's also an interesting one is, just she recognized that, okay, people aren't going directly from YouTube to my email, but when I take them to IG and then email, all of a sudden I'm seeing a huge boost. And it's interesting because, we'll run A/B tests with different types of pop-ups and things like that. And it's crazy how little changes can make a big difference in how people sign up. And you can see a huge jump or decrease in conversion rates. So that is that is definitely interesting
I
to
was like,
see that she's got that
wow.
all mapped out like that.
Yeah. Now let's talk about opt-ins. I know for e-commerce brands, a lot of times it is discounts or some sort of special, some offer. But in
Mhm.
general, like let's say for bloggers or other kinds of businesses, what do you see working right now?
Yeah, so really, I would say it's kind of the classic stuff of the classic lead magnets of, PDFs, free trainings. I think the free training videos seem to be doing a lot better, more so now than the PDFs. Like if you just do a little mini course or a little master class. Um, but there's something that has just come to my attention just recently that's been really effective. It's this thing called eBoov, EBOOV. I have no, affiliation with them. This is it's an in video opt-in form. So let's just say you had a landing page where you were going to get them to opt into a free training or whatever. You can put the free training video on that page, and then what will happen is they get to start watching the beginning of the video. Then you have the pop-up will just pop up and interrupt the video where to continue watching they have to opt in. And so one of our clients just started using this, and his opt-in rate went from 10% to 30%, which
Wow.
10% was already good. So and
Right.
30% is crazy. So, and
Right.
he's running paid traffic to this. So like, again, this is
Wow.
like, I don't ever see this, you know?
Right.
So, and this was the only change he made. We had a funnel where people were opting in a landing page and then going to the free training. And the only change we made, and he actually found this tool, by the way. So, but I want to share with people because
Yeah.
it's not often you see something like this that makes that big of a difference. Um, but what I think is interesting and what I think is working is the fact that we're so used to hitting a landing page and having to opt in first before we even get to see anything. Where in this case, you get to get a little sneak peek of the free training. You see how the person communicates, you see the content they're talking about, and then you can plan it just right to where like right before you're about to give away some really enticing thing, they have to opt in, right? So it's like they've already committed a little bit of time to this to watching. So yeah, that's something that I'm pretty excited about, and I definitely want to start implementing that more with other clients as well.
And that makes sense because I do think with all the like, how many ebooks have you downloaded or checklists have you downloaded that you never go back and look at? Or how many times do you, I don't know, like I was searching for something on YouTube and I'm like, I get onto somebody's thing and I'm like popping off because I'm like, do I like you? Do I trust you? Whatever. Whereas here, you get to get a flavor. It creates that trust factor quicker to go, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
will give you my email address because, oh, you are providing, like, that's it. I guess you're always wondering when you like give your email address, like, is there real value here or is this kind of BS? And a lot of the
Yeah.
times you end up with like, I know this already, or this is dumb, or this isn't, I feel like kind of suckered. Whereas here you get to go, here's real content. Let's put this in front of you. And then, oh yeah, that's valuable. I feel like in our society where we are trusting less, that's a
Mm-hmm.
really, feeling like, oh, am I being, scammed? That's a really interesting strategy.
Yeah. And so one thing I want to add to that, based on what you're saying there. So one thing I find with lead magnets, especially when it comes to services and anything that's basically not physical products, where you're doing lead magnets, where it's free trainings and that kind of stuff. I find that in the past people would try to have the most over the top, extremely valuable, comprehensive thing that you get for free and just blow you away with value. And like you said, we've seen so many of those, and a lot of times you download or sign up for one of those and it ends up kind of just being a rinse and repeat version of another one you've seen before, right? And what I think is, or actually what I know is working better now for a lot of businesses, is to go the opposite direction and to be very to the point and actionable. So it's very specific. So now when for you, the lead who sees this, right away if you know this thing or not, because it's so specific. It's not this whole comprehensive course. It's just solving one particular problem. And if you can have something that's quick and easy to digest, it's immediately actionable, so they get that quick win, right? That they can just put this to use right away, and have a feel good feeling associated with you because you've already helped them out. But then especially if this thing is tied to your offer,
Right.
meaning that it doesn't completely solve the problem, but it
Right.
moves them
Right.
forward,
Right.
right? So like,
Right.
so if you, for example, if you did online fitness coaching and you had a guide that was like, tips and tricks to use MyFitnessPal, or, how to like, a really quick actionable thing to help them start tracking their diet or to start shopping for healthier foods on a budget, something very specific, right? And so now they're taking action towards, and they're starting to see a little progress towards their goals, but you haven't solved the issue of they still need a coach to help design their programming and their diet plan and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I would look for businesses in those categories, is how can I give them something that's quick, actionable, it moves them toward my offer but doesn't solve what my offer does.
Yeah. You know
And
what?
don't try to be this all in one thing.
I'm going to call it a teaser win.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what you need to offer. Like, get a little taste.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a success, small, but if you want the whole thing, you get to pay me for that. But I'm worth it. And I've shown you I'm worth it. I want to take a short break to talk about opt-ins because I have one that you might be interested in. It is my AI ebook. This is my most popular opt-in, and it has helped so many of you use AI to create an ebook in under 3 hours. You can grab this at milotree.com/AI ebook. That's AIEBOOK. Go check it out. Go see what I'm using as my opt-in to maybe inspire you. Go write your ebook. Again, milotree.com/AI ebook. And now back to the show. Let's talk about the thing that is changing everything, AI, and talk to me about how you think AI can help you with email marketing, where you potentially see some, roadblocks or challenges with AI. Like what is your vibe about AI and email marketing?
Okay, yeah. Overall, I'm a big fan. So I know a lot of people in my position might feel like, oh, it's going to take our jobs, it's going to replace us, and uh, it might replace us eventually, but we're not there yet. And I definitely feel like, at least right now and in the near future, it's a tool that can help us be way more efficient, and that's what it's actually doing for my team. It's helping us be more efficient. And I'll talk about that. And then, but really quickly, just spoiler alert, it doesn't replace everything. So the big downside that I would say is that people going into it thinking that AI can just write all my email copy for me, and you could do that, but it's not going to work as well as you might think. It's not quite that simple, or it's not quite that good yet. But so some of the areas where I really like it is the initial market research. This is something where I normally spend a lot of time whenever I'm onboarding a new client, is just doing market research, coming up with the messaging strategy for that business. So sometimes you may have heard people refer to it as like creating a buyer persona or a customer avatar or ideal customer profiles, all these terms for this kind of process. And this is something that usually takes hours to do. And now using AI, I can get this done way faster, and it's really detailed. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's perfect, right? So it's like I'll go through a series of inputs, asking it. I'll put in the information about the business, about their target market. I still need to know a little bit of stuff up front about their target market. Obviously, I'm going to take as much as I can get from the client as far as the knowledge that they have and use that. But then it can spit out. It'll help you come up with all those wants, needs, desires, the fears, worries, pain points, all of those things,
Objections,
the demographics, yeah, sales objections, all of that stuff. So now you have this huge list of all these different things that are potential topics for emails, or also just how do we even craft the strategy for how we talk about this business and these products in the first place in a way that this type of person is going to care about. So that's the first thing, is just doing that alone. So we're not even writing copy. That's just helping us be more strategic and be more thoughtful with our copy and with our strategy. And then, so along those same lines, I also find AI to be pretty useful for topic ideas. So you can really, if you don't accept the first answer and you kind of drill down, you can get really detailed and unique ideas for topics. So for example, let's just say you've got this ideal customer profile, document that you've created now from
Can you
AI.
give a real world example so we can kind of ground it?
Yeah. So going back to the fitness thing, you might put in an input of saying, create an ideal customer profile for an online coaching business that sells to or focuses on women after they've had a baby, something like that, something very specific. And you can put in some details of like the details of the program. It's only online. This is what we offer, that sort of thing. And then it will actually give you that alone. That particular prompt, creating an ideal customer profile, is a pretty detailed answer type of prompt because it knows what that is.
Mhm.
Normally, you have to give a lot more details to get that. So then once you get, and then sorry, one thing I would add to that is actually I would say list 10 examples for each of the following, and I would list the wants, needs, desires, and the different types of pain points that you want to have, as well as throw in demographics in there as well. And you can throw in your own whatever stuff you're looking for. That's what's going to give you that. Now you've got a full breakdown on the demographics, and then you've got lists of 10 items or 10 examples for each one of those major, the psychology stuff that marketers really care about, right? So now you've got those. Now you could take one of those pain points, and it's like, I know a common pain point for in the fitness space is shopping for healthy food on a budget. So now you can go back to Chat GPT, and let's just say that was one of the pain point examples, and say, okay, I'm interested in this topic, and then you put that topic in brackets so that way it knows what you're talking about. And then you say, please suggest 10. It could be email topics related to this. It could be social media posts. It could be blog posts. You can really ask it for any kind of topics you want. In our case, we'd be doing emails, and you can ask for ideas of, okay, basically you're looking for an angle to start the conversation about this. So now we'll give you 10 ways you could talk about that topic. And then within those 10, you could even break that down further. It could even, like, you could take one of those examples and get 10 more examples. So you're going from like strategy down to tactical. So the more refined you go, the more specific and tactical you're getting. So you're getting to like, as opposed to, so like, let's just say it's high level, and we're thinking about, okay, shopping for groceries on a budget. So a high level would be things like shop at these kinds of stores and look for these categories of food, right? But then as you drill down more, it's like, okay, now you're focusing specifically on like gluten-free options only, and like, what are the 10 best gluten-free options for someone who has these taste preferences or whatever, right? So you see how it's like you can go very, very wide or very narrow.
Right.
And that's what's cool, is you can just keep doing these iterations to go down further and further, depending on how tactical you want to get. And that's when you get down to that tactical level, that's how you have an unending list of topics to write emails about, because now you have very specific things. Now, not everyone on your list is going to, it's not going to be the right thing for every single person, but the people that is the right thing for them, they're going to love it because you're speaking very specifically to them and you're solving a very specific problem. And if you're emailing your list often enough and you're showing up with these things that are highly personalized to your list's interests and concerns and solving very, very specific problems, now you have really stood out from everyone else who's just doing the same old 10 ways to get a six pack in 30 days or whatever, like the same old top surface level stuff that everyone else is doing.
Right. Now, when you're writing emails, do you on average feel like emails should be long, should be short, should be one sentence a paragraph? Like, what are your inside strategies that that I might not know when you're crafting an email?
So it's interesting because the answer I'm going to give is a little different than what we do.
Okay.
So in general, I would say lean towards shorter emails. And the reason why is because people just don't have a big attention span. And so in general, I'd say, keep paragraphs short, keep sentences short, break up the lines of copy. So you don't want to have more than 2 or 3 sentences in each paragraph. And the reason why is so that way it's just super easy for someone to skim the whole email and get what you're talking about. Because if they see
mobile.
this, especially on mobile, So if they see this essay,
Yeah.
they're just not going to read it, right?
Yeah.
And now I say that, and that's my general recommendation. But then if you were to look at our emails we're doing for our clients, they're usually longer than average. And the reason why is because we have really good copywriters, and everything is just, it's really well planned out, where each section is thoughtful, and of course we've got subheaders, and we're breaking it up using design. We're breaking it up to where it's guiding the eye down, right? So it's like, you don't have to start there.
Right.
You can get there. But
Right.
if you're just getting started, and if you don't have a strong copywriting background, I would lean on keeping it shorter and to the point, and being conversational and friendly. And you don't have to like use a bunch of crazy copywriting formulas, or all you can learn that stuff over time, and learn the different psychology techniques to use, but you don't have to start there. Email should be more personable. It should feel like you're writing to a friend. That's going to go way further than someone trying to do this really long, really detailed, logical argument for why someone should buy.
Right.
Instead, I would say take that long thing and break it up into multiple emails, and just send those multiple emails over the course of a week or so. That way people are actually, because you want to make sure they actually read it. If they don't read it, then it just wastes the whole effort, right?
Right.
So it defeats
All
the
right.
purpose.
Tips on subject line.
Subject
There's like
lines.
a whole science to this.
Yeah. Yeah. And subject lines. So I would say definitely keep them shorter. A lot of people are kind of, one way or the other when it comes to emojis. I think emojis are great. They grab attention. Using curiosity, using urgency, using the person's name. These are all like little tricks you can do. The one thing is, though, is you don't want to do clickbait. So you can get creative and create curiosity and all of that, but make sure you deliver on it in the email. Because what I have found is that yes, subject lines are important for open rates, but they're not as important for overall performance from email, meaning getting clicks and getting purchases. And the content of the email does a lot more
So you
for
have to
that. Meaning
deliver.
exactly. So if you're consistently sending out great content, it doesn't matter as much what you say in the subject line, because people are going to open because it's from you. Versus if the emails suck and you're always relying on tricks to get them to open, you'll get a spike in opens in the short term, but people will stop opening because they just don't like being tricked like that.
Right. One pet peeve I have, because I read subject lines like with this critical eye, looking at their business strategy, not just like, and I find that we are so inside our own businesses that we lose sight of the fact that nobody cares about you, or nobody knows what you're up to in your business. So it's almost like the subject line will be as if I am intimately involved in your business, in your life, and therefore I should click it. Whereas I go, this is coming out of nowhere. Even you might have sent me an email yesterday as part of this, but it's like, I talk about this a lot on my podcast, which is, I think that I'm inside me. So I'm like obsessed with me, and you're obsessed with you. And I'm obsessed with my business and know it intimately, and you're obsessed with yours. So stepping out of ourselves is so freaking hard. And it's hard in emails. Like I read emails and it's all about the person. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I don't even remember when I signed up for your list. You've got to earn my attention. Provide me value that's relevant to me. Because remember, I'm a number one to me. And so even with subject lines or content, it's like all about them, all about their business, all of that. And I'm going, oh my God, like, no, we have to police ourselves to get out of ourselves so that we can see it from the person who doesn't care about us.
Yeah. So that to me is the single most important thing when it comes to content in general, especially for email, is that you should focus more on who you're selling to than what you're selling. And you've always got to connect it back to them, right? So it's like you said, there's just going to be a different level of, people remembering why they signed up or what you've been talking about recently or any of that. So sometimes it can feel like you're being a little redundant, or maybe you're dumbing it down too much, but that's actually a good thing.
Yes.
Because it's better to be simple and be understood than to be complicated or to just totally miss the mark and they just don't even know what you're talking about at all because, they just have totally forgotten or they never even knew in the first place. Like, sometimes people they're going to miss an email. And so if you're saying something, assuming they read the last
Exactly.
one,
Like you get
yeah,
like a subject line that says one more thing. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't even know what the previous thing was, let alone one more thing, because you're so inside this that you think I'm waiting. Oh my God, you have one more thing to say?
yeah, it's funny. So that's actually just a classic like sales funnel strategy with emails, especially for selling info products and things like that, where the idea is to take them on this whole journey and each email connects to the next one. And this is actually like a strategy that used to work. And I think that now that there's just so much more fighting for our attention that it's harder to remember emails from day to day than it was in the past. Like we just consume so much more digital content now than we did 5-10 years ago even.
Right.
And I notice this all the time with people who email me the exact same thing you're talking about, where a lot of times like I just didn't open I saw them but I didn't open the last three. And now this email I happen to open this one and you're referencing that offer, but you don't give me any details about the offer. Right. So I'm like, I'm not going to go back and look unless I'm just super interested, but they haven't given me anything to be interested in because they'll say stuff like exactly what you're saying. It's like they kind of vaguely reference it,
Right.
but
I remember being at a conference a couple of years ago. I thought this now is very prescient, where a guy was talking about funnels and we all kind of thought it's like, and then you go from this step to this step to this step. And he said, you have to think about people are entering and exiting your funnels all over the place. They might come back. They might start maybe at step 2 and then end up at step 6 and then come back to step 3. And so it all has to make sense when you pull it apart, because most people don't just go like follow the path that you've set up.
yeah, exactly. So one thing I like to do when it comes to this is, so let's just say you've got, 6 main points that you want to get across in this funnel. And that's how a lot of times people would do it, where they would start with one, go to the next one, and it would be very conversational and one email picks up where the last one left off. I like to still hit those 6 points, but have each email be an email that could stand on its own, meaning that you introduce the offer as if you were introducing it for the first time, or at least give them the information they would need if it was the first time they were seeing it. And you're not writing the email picking up from where the last one picked off or left off. It's more like you just know that this is an area of interest for them. So you're just starting another conversation with them about that. So it's like, yes, you are kind of continuing the conversation, but it's a conversation on the grounds that you're in the market, this is an area that is of interest to you, but not the specific conversation from yesterday, right? It's like we're talking about the same subject matter, but we're not talking about exactly what I said in line 3 of email yesterday.
Got it. Now, best words for selling when you have that link. Buy now, check it out. You need this. I need this. Like what is your go-to?
I like things that are tied to whatever it is. So if it was, a free training, let's think here. So, let's just say it's a business training about, how to build out a funnel or whatever. The CTA would be build your first funnel or build your next funnel, something like that. Right. As opposed to, now don't get me wrong. We use Shop Now. We use all those, the classic ones regularly. Right. We mix them. It just depends on what the offer is, right? And the context of the email. So I'm not saying that you can never do those and they're so boring. They still, it's fine, right? But we do like to make it more fun. And I find that when you make it more fun and when you tie it to the action that they're taking or the benefit that they're going to be receiving from buying that product, it's a little bit more of a fun experience to receive that kind of email, right? And that's part of making your email stand out without having to be super salesy. It's just doing little things, just a little bit more fun and friendly and a little bit more branded than what the next business is doing.
Got it. So let's say I am this health coach or this health coach, let's say, and somebody joins my list and I'm going to send them my welcome series. Just talk very briefly, high level. What does that look like? How many emails, how much value, how much about me, how much about you, and am I selling in those emails?
Okay, so this is one area where I disagree with what is kind of the commonly accepted thing, where I think you should be selling right away.
Ooh.
So the conventional thing is you have this whole long drawn out series of building value, and then you finally sell. For me, it's not so much being aggressive with selling, but they did sign up. They've shown interest in this thing. Make sure that that the solution to their problem is available to them right away. So this is usually going to be like, it just depends on the business, but like 4 to 8 emails. First one is going to be high level introduction to you or your business, whatever the case is for whatever. Oh, sorry, I guess if it's a coach, it'd be, to the coach.
Yeah.
So this is where it's like, okay, brief background about the coach, some credentials or some social proof, something to build up their authority, brief offer into the main coaching program or whatever it is, and allow them to get access to that right away. Let's just say they signed up and they got some kind of free training or whatever. I would definitely reference that in the email. Like, hope you're enjoying this. And here's another tip of how you can get more out of that. That would be part of the email as well. So to make the people who aren't ready to buy now feel like it's okay if I'm not ready to buy now. Email 2 is where I typically go deeper into the brand story for the coach or the business or whatever. This is where it's going to be more emotional, more storytelling based. Now they're really getting to know you. So kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about that one woman, what she's doing with Instagram, this is where you're really personalizing it and really humanizing the business and the offer and the why behind the offer. And then now you're getting into the offer. Email 3 is where I like to do a lot of social proof. So this is like showing off testimonials, reviews, UGC, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of just
UGC is user generated content. Just
yep.
for my audience. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And, addressing skepticism. So it's like, okay, they've got an introduction to you. They hear this story. And at this point, they're
sounds
like,
good,
okay, yeah, sounds good. But
yeah.
So then that's where I like to hit them with the social proof and everything. And then that's where things will differ from business to business as far as where do I take it from there. So at some point in this welcome flow, if they don't buy, I am going to push them towards whatever the big community is for this business. So whatever they're like, if they have a Facebook group or wherever they're most active on social, I want to make sure, because a lot of times people are, getting these leads from ads, and I want to get them on the company's social, because if they're not going to buy right now, we want to make sure they're at least seeing this business everywhere beyond the emails, right? So that will usually come later in the welcome series. But after those initial ones, a lot of times it's a cadence of every other one, where one is going to be all value, just short call to action at the end for the offer. The next one's going to be straight selling. And then the next one will be all value, call to action at the bottom. The next one's straight selling. And I'll, usually do that cadence like that for, the first, like from email 4 through 6 or 7, we'll throw in that community emails, pushing them to social, something like that. And again, this is something where we're just testing. We're testing all of this, and we're looking at the analytics of what's working, and we'll go in and we will replace the emails that are performing the lowest in this flow.
Interesting. Yeah. So you're always going back and checking to see how they're performing.
Exactly. So we never accept, you never just set it and forget it with these flows, especially the welcome series. This is this is the most important one. You've got people constantly coming into this thing. And if you're getting sales from email 1, email 2, no sales from email 3, and you get sales from email 4, something's wrong with email 3, So that's how we look at it. We want to see sales coming from every email in the flow all the way to the end.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. And just before we wrap up, when you look at open rates, what's your target? When you look at, clicks on links, like what's good?
Okay. Open rates can be tricky because of the whole iOS thing. So they're inflated now. They're a lot higher than they used to be. So I'd say usually it's pretty average, is like 40% is what we're seeing, which, in the past 20% was the gold standard. Like, you just want to be at 20% and above. But again, because they're being over reported from iOS, it's all over the place. But So I wouldn't get too excited if you see these crazy high open rates these days. What's more important, I think, is click rates. And that's where we like to see, 2 to 3% and above on
Ooh,
click
okay.
rates with campaigns. Now, if it's automations, these can be much higher. So it depends on which type of automation. If it's a welcome series or if it's an abandonment flow, I mean, you can see 8, 10, 15, even higher percentage click rates in those flows just because they're very targeted flows where the people are very interested. It's not like you're sending out a campaign to a list of people where there's just a broad mix of people. So you have to consider context and don't always worry about what the industry standard is or whatever. Track your metrics every single month, track month to month changes, and just be looking to improve on yours. Because a lot of businesses, they get their click rates are a lot lower than the standard, and they generate a ton of revenue from their email marketing. Like, it's okay. Everything doesn't have to always be perfect. So that's something I want people to know, is that, you got to look at the big picture. If people are happy with the emails, if they're not complaining, if they're buying, but your click rates are a little bit lower than you like them to be, it's not that, like, you don't have to now start, yes, try to improve them, but it doesn't mean you have to try to do a bunch of like tricky stuff in the email constantly thinking that like this one metric is so important.
Got it. Well, I think you have been so generous with what you're sharing, and I feel like there are so many takeaways in this episode. Like, I'm taking notes over here. So I want to say how much I appreciate that. So Kyle, if people want to reach out to you, find you, see what you're doing, ask you questions, where should they go?
Okay, yeah. If you want to connect with me, then elevateandscale.com is the best place to do that. Otherwise, if you just want to get more content about email marketing, my favorite platform is YouTube, and it's Elevate and Scale.
Wonderful. Well, I just have to say, I would love to have you back for a part 2 where we could go maybe deeper into one of these topics. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
I hope you guys like this episode. I continue to find email to be super powerful. I'm going to take some of Kyle's suggestions about segmenting my list. I think that is a very smart idea. If you are ready to sell digital products, that could be digital downloads, paid workshops, memberships, coaching, courses, get on a call with me. I would love to talk to you. Go to MiloTree.com/meet. It's a free call. I'll hear about your business. I'll be honest with you to tell you if I think digital products would work for you. I'll give you some ideas of products you might be able to sell. I'll share some of the strategies other MiloTreeCart customers are using to find success. So again, MiloTree.com/meet. And I will see you here again next week.